All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to talk about something, a feeling really, that a ton of us have, but we just don't talk about it enough. And that's imposter syndrome. You know that feeling? You're sitting at a big meeting, or maybe you just got a promotion, and this little voice in your head whispers, I'm a total fraud. Any minute now, they're all going to figure it out. Sound familiar?
Yeah, if you've been there, you know it's way more than just a case of the jitters. It's like there's this huge gap, right? Over here, you've got this amazing, competent person that the world sees, and over there, well, that's you feeling like you're just putting on a really good show.
And this really gets to the heart of it. Look at this. On one side of the scale, you have all this evidence, right? Promotions, people telling you did a great job, projects that you totally nailed. But on the other side, you've got your feelings. And those feelings, the doubt, the fear, the sense of being a fraud are just screaming that all that evidence, it's a fluke. It doesn't count. So this isn't just you being weird, I promise. It actually has a name. A couple of psychologists, Suzanne Imes and Pauline Rose Clance, they nailed this thing way back in 1978. They called it the imposter phenomenon. And it's basically this pattern where you can't absorb your own success. Your brain literally won't let you think, hey, I earned this. Instead, it comes up with all these other explanations. Oh, I just got lucky, or the timing was right, or wow, I really pulled the wool over their eyes that time. But here's where it gets really twisted. You'd think that more success would make the feeling go away, right? Nope. It actually creates this vicious cycle. It's this crazy paradox where every single win, instead of making you feel more confident, actually reinforces the feeling that you're a fake. It just makes it worse. Okay, so how does this crazy loop even work? Let's walk through it. It all starts with a new challenge, right? A new project, a new role. Step 2, bam, anxiety hits. That fear of this is the time they'll find me out. Then, step 3, somehow you pull it off. You succeed, and for a second there's this wave of relief. But then comes the most important part. Step 4, you completely write off that success.
See, when that anxiety kicks in, we usually go down one of two roads. Path 1, you over-prepare. You work 3 times harder than anyone else, just grinding away. Or path 2, you procrastinate. You put it off to the very last second. So when you succeed, if you're the over-preparer, you think, well, that doesn't prove I'm smart, it just proves I can work myself to death. And if you're the procrastinator, you think, whoa, I totally got lucky on that one. Pure chance.
So you see the pattern? No matter which path you take, the success never registers as actual competence. It just reinforces this idea that you got away with something. It doesn't feel like a win you earned. It feels like you dodged a bullet, and you're just convinced that next time you won't be so lucky. Okay, so if success isn't the cure, then what does this thing actually look like day to day? Well, it turns out it can show up in a few common flavors. An expert on this, Dr. Valerie Young, actually broke it down into 5 different types. Think of them as 5 different internal rule books that people with imposter syndrome tend to follow. Let's see if any of these sound like you. All right, here we go. First up, the perfectionist. Their rule, if it's not 100% perfect, it's a complete failure. Sound familiar? Then there's the superhuman. This person feels like they have to work harder and longer than everybody else just to keep up. Next, the natural genius. They believe that if something doesn't come easily, if they actually have to work at it, it means they're not really smart. Then we have the soloist. Their big rule is never ask for help, because asking for help is like admitting you're a fraud. And finally, the expert. This is the person who feels like they can't start anything until they know everything about it, because they're terrified of being caught not knowing an answer. So we've talked about what's going on inside our own heads. But what about when we look around the room? You know that feeling, right? You're convinced you're the only one who's faking it, that everyone else has it all figured out. But what if that's the biggest illusion of all?
There's actually a cool psychological term for this. It's called pluralistic ignorance. And it's this weird dynamic where basically everyone in a group is privately feeling one way, in this case insecure, but because nobody says anything, we all assume we're the only one feeling that way. We're all sitting there doubting ourselves, but looking at everyone else and thinking, wow, they're so confident.
And this is why. This explains everything. We're constantly comparing our own insides, all the fear, the chaos, the messy scribbles of doubt, to everyone else's outsides. Their polished resume, their confident smile, their curated social media feed. It's a game you literally cannot win. It's an unfair comparison from the start. In that isolation, that's the air that imposter syndrome breathes. It thrives in the dark, you know? It loves it when we keep it a secret. But the second you shine a light on it, the second you realize other people feel this way too, it starts to shrink. It loses its grip.
Okay, so that's the problem. But what's the solution? How do we actually fight back against this thing? Well, the good news is you absolutely can. You can start to rewire your brain. The whole trick is learning how to move from what you feel to what is actually fact.
So here are 3 really powerful things you can start doing right now. First, reframe your story. That voice that says, I'm a fraud because I don't know this, you gotta flip that script to, okay, I'm a learner and this is my chance to figure this out. It's a total game changer. Second, and this is a big one, break the silence. Just talk about it. Find a friend or a coworker you trust and just say it out loud. I guarantee you'll probably hear, oh my gosh, me too, and that's huge. And third, learn to separate your feelings from the facts. You can say, okay, I feel stupid right now, but that doesn't mean I am stupid. A feeling isn't a fact.
And look, if you still think this feeling is tied to how competent you really are, just listen to this. The one and only Maya Angelou. She once said this, I have written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find me out now. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Maya Angelou. If she felt it, then maybe, just maybe, this feeling has absolutely zero to do with how good you actually are at your job. In fact, what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if that feeling is actually a good sign, a signal that you're pushing yourself, that you're stepping outside your comfort zone? Think about it. People who are coasting, people who don't really care, they don't worry about being imposters. You only feel this way when you're doing something that matters.
And that really is the key takeaway here. The goal isn't to make sure you never feel this way again. That's probably not realistic. Imposter syndrome isn't some disease you need to cure. It's more like a distortion in your thinking. It's something you learn to spot and something you learn to manage.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. The next time that feeling hits you, that fear that you're in over your head, what if you didn't see it as a sign that you're a fraud? What if instead you saw it as proof that you're doing something meaningful and that you're exactly where you're supposed to be?